Breaking the Silence, How One Woman's Mission is Revolutionizing the Search for Missing Persons. Welcome to this special TED Talk edition of the BlackCEO Podcast. Today, we're delving into a topic that's as urgent as it is heartbreaking, one that touches the very core of our humanity. I'm honored to introduce you to Dr. Charlotte Hunter Burns, a woman whose work is not just changing lives, but saving them and reshaping how we approach one of society's most painful issues. Dr. Burns is the visionary behind Voices of the Missing, a groundbreaking initiative that's turning the world of missing persons cases on its head. Her work isn't just innovative, it's revolutionary, infused with the passion that comes from a place of deep personal understanding and an unwavering commitment to justice. Imagine for a moment the sound of silence. Not the peaceful quiet of a starry night, but the deafening, oppressive silence that follows when a loved one vanishes without a trace. It's a silence that echoes with unanswered questions, with fears that gnaw at the soul, with hopes that flicker like a candle in the wind. This is the silence that Dr. Burns has dedicated her life to breaking. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, missing persons, isn't that just the stuff of milk cartons and true crime podcasts? Well, buckle up, because Dr. Burns is about to shatter every preconception you've ever had about this issue. Let's start with a sobering fact. Every 90 seconds, someone in the United States is reported missing. That's nearly 1,000 people a day. Take a moment to let that sink in. In the time it takes you to brew your morning coffee, someone somewhere has disappeared. But here's where it gets really interesting, and where Dr. Burns' work becomes so crucial. Despite what popular media might have us believe, the majority of these cases aren't dramatic kidnappings or sinister plots. They're often far more complex, intertwining issues of mental health, social inequality, and systemic failures. Dr. Burns shared a story that illustrates this perfectly. In a small town in Oregon, a young woman named Maria had been missing for 3 years. Her case had gone cold, relegated to a dusty file in a police station drawer. But through Voices of the Missing, Maria's story was given new life. They created a portrait of Maria as part of their Faces of the Missing art project. This wasn't just any portrait. It was a vibrant, lifelike rendering that captured Maria's essence, her spirit. It was displayed in the local library, a place where community members gathered daily. One day, a regular library goer saw the portrait and stopped in her tracks. She recognized Maria, not as a missing person, but as someone she'd seen working at a diner 2 towns over. This single moment of recognition, this one person paying attention, led to Maria's safe return to her family. Now, I can almost hear the skeptics among you. Sure, that's a nice story, but it's just one case. What about the thousands of others? Well, hold on to your seats, because this is where Dr. Burns' approach gets really revolutionary. Voices of the Missing isn't just about finding those who are lost. It's about changing the entire paradigm of how we approach missing persons cases. It's about harnessing the power of technology, community engagement, and good old-fashioned human compassion to create a safety net that catches those at risk before they fall through the cracks. Let's talk about the tech side for a moment. Dr. Burns and her team are using AI and machine learning in ways that would make even the most cutting-edge Silicon Valley startups sit up and take notice. They're crunching vast amounts of data, identifying patterns and correlations that human analysts might miss. For instance, they've uncovered a startling link between certain types of disappearances and specific geographical and social factors. In one case, they found that young men in a particular urban area were going missing at a rate significantly higher than the national average. Digging deeper, they discovered a connection to a local gang's recruitment tactics. But here's the kicker. This information isn't just sitting in a database somewhere. It's being used to create real, actionable strategies. In that urban area, they worked with local community leaders and law enforcement to implement targeted outreach programs. The result, a 30% decrease in missing persons cases in that demographic within a year. Now, I can see some of you shifting uncomfortably in your seats. This all sounds great, you might be thinking, but isn't there a risk of this technology being misused, of infringing on privacy? It's a valid concern, and one that Dr. Burns takes very seriously. We're not Big Brother, she told me with a wry smile. We're more like the nosy neighbor who actually cares. Her team has implemented strict ethical guidelines and privacy protections. They're not tracking individuals. They're identifying broad patterns that can inform prevention strategies. But here's where Dr. Burns' approach really sets itself apart. She knows that technology alone isn't enough. That's why a crucial part of Voices of the Missing is its focus on community involvement. Remember that silence we talked about earlier? Dr. Burns is teaching communities how to listen for it, how to recognize the warning signs before someone disappears. They organize regular awareness campaigns, training sessions for local volunteers, and work closely with law enforcement agencies. One particularly powerful initiative is their support groups for families of missing persons. Dr. Burns shared the story of the Johnson family, whose 16-year-old son disappeared on his way home from school. For months, they felt like they were screaming into a void, with media interest waning and leads running dry. Through Voices of the Missing, they found not just practical support in keeping their son's case alive, but also a community of people who understood their pain. This network of support became a lifeline, helping them navigate the complex emotions and practical challenges of their situation. It's about giving voice to the voiceless, Dr. Burns explained, not just the missing, but those left behind, who often feel forgotten by the system and society at large. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, the uncomfortable truth that not all missing persons cases receive equal attention. Factors like race, socioeconomic status, and even physical attractiveness can influence how much media coverage and investigative resources a case receives. Dr. Burns doesn't shy away from this issue. In fact, she tackles it head on. Voices of the Missing is actively working to address these disparities, ensuring that every missing person, regardless of their background, has an equal chance of being found. They've implemented a system where cases are assigned resources based on objective criteria, not media appeal. They work with local media outlets to ensure diverse representation and coverage, and they're not afraid to call out systemic biases when they see them. But perhaps the most inspiring aspect of Dr. Burns's work is how she's mobilizing young people to get involved. Through partnerships with universities and high schools, Voices of the Missing is training the next generation of advocates and investigators. Students learn about forensic science, data analysis, and the importance of community engagement. This not only provides valuable resources for current cases, but also ensures that this vital work will continue into the future. One student, a bright-eyed 17-year-old named Jamila, told me how working with Voices of the Missing had changed her life. I always thought I wanted to be a doctor, she said, but now I know I want to be a forensic psychologist. I want to help bring people home. It's stories like Jamila's that remind us of the ripple effect of Dr. Burns's work. It's not just about solving cases, it's about creating a society that's more aware, more compassionate, and more proactive in protecting its most vulnerable members. Now, I can almost hear some of you thinking, this all sounds great, but what can I do? I'm not a tech whiz or a forensic expert. Well, here's where Dr. Burns's genius really shines. She believes that everyone has a role to play in this mission. It might be as simple as paying closer attention to missing person alerts or as involved as volunteering for search efforts or support services. Every action, no matter how small, has the potential to make a difference. Dr. Burns shared a story that perfectly illustrates this point. In a small town in Idaho, an elderly man with Alzheimer's went missing. The local police had limited resources, and after a few days, the search was scaled back. But the community refused to give up. Inspired by what they learned from Voices of the Missing, they organized their own search parties. They used social media to coordinate efforts, created maps of areas to cover, and even used drones borrowed from a local farming cooperative to survey hard to reach areas. 5 days after he went missing, the man was found alive, disoriented but safe, in a ravine that had been overlooked in the initial search. It wasn't high-tech solutions that saved him. It was a community that refused to stop looking. This story isn't just heartwarming. It's a call to action. It's a reminder that we all have the power to make a difference, to be the voice for those who can't speak for themselves. So I challenge you. The next time you see a missing person alert, don't just scroll past. Take a moment to really look at that face, to consider the life behind it, and to share the information. You never know. Your share could be the one that reaches the right person and brings someone home. But let's take it a step further. How can you be more aware of the vulnerable people in your own community? Is there an elderly neighbor living alone who you could check in on regularly? A teenager in your area who might be at risk? By strengthening these community bonds, we create a safety net that can prevent disappearances before they happen. And for those of you with specific skills, Whether in technology, counseling, or community organizing, consider reaching out to organizations like Voices of the Missing. Your expertise could be the missing piece in solving a case or supporting a family in need. As we wrap up today's talk, I want to leave you with a thought from Dr. Burns that has stuck with me. In the search for the missing, we often find ourselves. It's a reminder that this work isn't just about those who are lost, but about who we become in the process of searching as individuals and as a society. So let's commit to being a society that doesn't look away, that doesn't forget, that doesn't give up. Let's be the voices for those who can't speak for themselves, because in doing so, we're not just changing lives, we're saving them. Remember, in the world of missing persons, silence is the enemy. It's up to all of us to keep these stories alive, to keep searching, to keep hoping. Every missing person is someone's loved one, and every one of them deserves to have their story told and their voice heard. As you leave here today, I want you to ask yourself, what will you do to break the silence? How will you use your voice to speak for those who can't? The next missing person found could be because of you. Thank you.